Next, I'm pleased to invite Angela Chiu, the Corporate Finance of KPMG, is going to present on the topic exit strategy. Please give a big welcome.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. And my name is Angela, and I come from KPMG Corporate Finance team. So today I will talk about various options for startup to exit, and we will have a look of the recent exit trends, and we will also talk about some considerations for IPO and M&A. And I will have a Q&A section following this. So if you have any questions at the end, you are welcome to ask me any questions, or I will stay behind. Now, before we start, and have you ever think about why do you need an exit options? Why do you need to know about an exit options? And why do you need an exit plan? Now, many business owners are not really concerned about the exit options because they are very committed to the business. So as long as the business is running well and they are making money, they're not planning to sell it. But in fact, running a business could be a very hard work. You can't really run a business forever. And in one day, you will retire. So consider this question for a moment. In the end of all this effort and hard work, what do you want at the end? So in fact, an exit plan is a harvesting plan. It is a long-term ultimate goal of your business. You may wish to consider for how long you are going to commit in this business and at what point of time you are planning to retire and finish your career. And also, when your business grows, so do your opportunity. And you will wish to sell your business when it is peak in value to capture the maximum value. And if you want to seek funding from potential investor, having a clear exit strategy is also essential because this is what gives the investor returns. So a detailed exit plan can actually help you to get the most out of your business. So when we talk about the exit options, the first question is how? What is your exit options? Now, there are 4 typical exit options: IPO, M&A, liquidations, and management buyout. Now, IPO can be an ideal exit for companies with strong growth record, good profit and governance structures, and they are ready to take up the public listing requirement. M&A is probably the most common way to exit. This means that a company is being bought or partially bought by another company or being merged with a similar company. And this could be a win-win situation because ideally, an M&A can create synergies. And other often overlooked alternative would be liquidations, just to shut down and close out. Liquidations is a great way to exit, but you don't really want it because it means closing down your business. Another option is to offer your management an opportunity to buy out the controlling stake. And after the buyout, the ownership will transfer to the management, but you can still retain the minority stake. Now, our presentation will focus mainly on IPO and M&A because they are the most common exit options. But before we start, let's take a look at the recent exit trend. Now, let's take a look at these 2 graphs. These 2 graphs show the global trends of venture-backed exit, IPO, strategic acquisitions, and also buyout. As you may observe in terms of the transaction volume and the transactions amount, M&A remain as the most common resources to the exit. So how about Asia? Likewise, strategic acquisition is also the most common exit channel for venture-backed companies in Asia. In fact, the overall exit figures for Asian regions had dropped a bit in 2017. And generally speaking, the rate of exit has been slowing down a bit. Now, let's take a look at the global tech exit. And there are more than 3,300 tech exits in 2016, and among all of them, 97% are M&A exits and only 2.9% are IPO exit. And compared to 2016, 2017 has seen an uptick in the IPO number. And IPO market is continued to make some slow rebound. But still, M&A exit is still the dominating exit channel. Some emerging tech companies will see record pace in M&A activities, and VR and AI are some hot area of investment in all regions across the world. So, in terms of sector, most of the tech exits are coming from the internet sector. And internet sector accounts for 46% of the total exit. The amount of exits from the mobile and computer hardware sector is climbing up. And in Q4 of 2016, the mobile and computer hardware exit account to 19% and 15% out of all exit of technology. So we are now seeing a more balancing and diversified trend in the tech exit. Now, AI has been a very hot topic in 2017, and we believe that it will continue to capture the headlines. In the Asian regions, the Chinese investor is also looking to invest in AI and automotive business. Now, some Chinese tech giants like Alibaba, Tencent, and JD.com, they are eyeing for global expansions. Hence, they are looking for India and Southeast Asia to acquire some new technology and talent. These some Chinese tech giants have been contributing to a number of big deals, such as Alibaba, 2 billion contributions to e-commerce startup Lazada. Now, this table shows the top and large startup exits in the most recent year. Apart from NewTrack, which is a healthcare unicorn, all other top startups you find in the table are coming from the internet, mobile, and telecommunication sectors. So although M&A acquisitions represent more than 19% of all exits, for large exits like this, IPOs represent more than half of these large exits. It means that both IPO and M&A are reasonable path to large exit. So when we talk about an exit plan, another important question is when. When is the best time to sell? Well, there is no universal time to exit a company. Most finder and investor, they're looking to get their money back in 3 to 10 years. But the right timing to sell it depends on a lot of external and internal factors. So it is always important to exit at the right timing for the right reason. Timing is really crucial for a successful exit. But first, let's take a look on the average time for a business to exit. Now, this data may be a little bit out of date, but it can still give you some idea about the average time to exit. The graph shows on average, it takes almost 7 years for a VC-backed company to exit their business. In fact, the average time to exit has been increased from 3.3 years in 2001 to 7 years in the most recent year. So when is the best time to exit if you want to capture the highest price? There are many factors to consider. It could be the financial conditions, it could be the valuations, your business cycle, and the current market environment. Perhaps the best time to obtain the highest price is to sell on an upward trend when your business is peak in value. Also, there are some other external factors, including the economy, the industry trends, the competitions, and the stock market environment, which could all have some impact on your exit valuations. And one of the best timing to consider the exit is when you have built a very good business model and a good image in the market. And when the acquirers and the investor want you most, they desperately want you and your product. Now, we understand that more than 97% are M&A exit, so the chance for a business of getting listed is less than 3%, right? So in another word, it's far more likely for a startup to pick M&A as an exit strategy rather than an IPO. So Let's take a look of the motive behind a M&A transactions from the buyer and the seller perspective. The main motive for a seller to consider a sale or partial sales to another company is perhaps money. They want to get liquidity out of their business. The seller may also look for potential synergy and network expansions from an M&A transaction. On the buyer side, apart from the potential synergies, the M&As would give the acquired company the chance to acquire new technology, to gain market shares, to acquire new product, and step into a new market in an efficient and more quickly. So in fact, from the buyer and the seller perspective, the synergy is the most commonly work you use in the M&A transactions. So let's take a look of the potentially three types of synergies you could create in the M&A transactions. With acquisitions, there could be revenue synergies or cost synergies. The acquirer can diversify their source of revenue by acquiring new product and technology. And also, another potential synergy could be the operational synergy, where you can increase your production capacity through acquiring the workforce or facility and improvement in your operational efficiency. Now, in 2015, Beverage had purchased goods for $425 million in order to gain new customer in the mobile device management. And in this way, Beverage can also eliminate one of its key competitors. Beverage and Goose also expect that they could have some significant cost savings after these acquisitions. Now, business can also look for financial synergies through an M&A. When two companies combine and become a larger company with higher market value, they could potentially lower the borrowing cost. So recently, GoGoWan becomes a Hong Kong first unicorn following a merger with Wuba Shuyuan. The newly formed and large company has a valuation of over $1 billion. That is to say, with a higher market value, they could potentially raise that in a much lower financing cost, and they could be more easily to tap the future equity market. So I don't want this sharing to be too technical, but here I just want to share with you how a typical M&A process looks like. It begins with the preparation stage, where you start to prepare your teaser and info memo, and then you move on the qualification stage, where you start to reach out to your potential investor and the buyers. And then it moves to the offer and negotiation stage, where your buyers, the potential buyer, will show interest or identify their interest in your company, and then both of you will start negotiate the SPA. And finally, it comes to the due diligence work before a deal can be officially closed. Now, there are some other major considerations in a typical M&A transactions. I will just highlight some important ones. They are the pricing considerations, the deal structures, as well as the valuations. Perhaps the most you concerned would be the pricing and the considerations. How much you are going to be paid in an M&A transactions, and will it be in cash considerations, a stock considerations, or a mixture of both? And also, you were concerned about the deal structure. Would it be a stock purchase, an asset sales, or a merger? And other primary considerations in the deal structure also include, would there be any transfer of liability? Is the third-party contractual consent required, or any shareholder approval required? Now, valuation is another important consideration in an M&A transaction, but I will touch on it later. Now, in fact, M&A is more natural in a hardware business because big electronic companies are used to buying technologies and market share. And hardware is a real business that you can evaluate and measure with foreseeable cash flow. So therefore, they could potentially reach a group of wider investment audience. Now, we can see some of the hardware startup acquisitions here. And one of the hardware startup acquisition is Nest Lab acquisition by Google in 2014. Nest was acquired by Google for $3.2 billion US dollar, and the pre-acquisition revenue of Nest is around $300 million US dollar. Nest is a producer of smoke detectors and smart thermostat. Now, from the perspective of Google, Google wants to develop a new market in the smart home system, and they also want to integrate its software and hardware capacity. From the perspective of Next, they could ride on Google's marketing capacity and also their data management capacity. Oculus is a VR technology company founded in 2002, and it was acquired by Facebook for $2 billion US dollar, and it is even before Oculus launched its first product. Now, 3 years later today, we can see that Facebook acquisitions of Oculus has changed the VR world forever. In fact, in a recent news, it was revealed that apart from the $2 billion acquisition cost, Facebook had actually paid a $1 billion extra for the employee retention package and the goal setting. Now, and I also want to talk about the soft machines. In 2016, Intel acquired a small business quietly, and it's a small machine. The acquisition cost is around $250 million US dollar. Soft machines is a microprocessor that could deliver high performance and power efficiency. In fact, in 2016, Intel has acquired a number of small companies, and one of which is the soft machines. The rationale behind all these acquisitions is that Intel wants to increase its CPU technologies development. But obviously, not all deals can make to the completion. There are often some deal breakers in an M&A transactions. Now, we did a survey on the acquisition deal breaker. The respondents was asked if your company start an acquisition process but did not complete a deal at last, what is the primary reason behind? So our research result has found that the acquisition deal failures was most frequently due to the valuation issue, the disagreement on the valuations, followed by a bidding loss and issue revealed during the due diligence process. So valuation actually play a very important role in an M&A transactions. Now, here on the screen, we are showing you the trends of the global EBITDA multiples. Now, using an applicable EBITDA multiples can give you a first-time estimate of your company's valuations. And a typical high-tech firm can be acquired as 18 times EBITDA multiples. And the healthcare business, they can also have a 20 times EBITDA multiple. According to our estimate, the average EBITDA multiple in the Asian region is 12.9 times in 2016. And this figure is actually slightly higher than that of other regions. Now, IPO can be an ideal exit for company with strong growth record, good profit, and its ability to meet some public listing requirement. I save IPO for the last because it might not be the most popular exit options. Also, going public could be lengthy, and it actually is a difficult process. Now, the primary benefit of going public is the ability to raise capital quickly by reaching a large number of audience. Companies seeking IPO are usually some mature company. So compared to an M&A, there is potential for them to raise money at higher valuations with higher market value. Also, an IPO can generate publicity. In fact, one of the key motivations for a company to go public is the prestige of being listed on a major stock exchange. It is also a way to build your reputation. Now, on the drawback side, the IPO process is quite time-consuming and expensive. It is quite common to take around 6 to 9 months to complete an IPO transactions. You will also have to pay for the IPO fee, the legal fee, the sponsor and underwriting fee. But there is no guarantee of success. The listing company will be subject to more rules and regulations and also more reporting requirements. They will also listen to the shareholders, and the shareholders may also override some of the management decisions. But if you are convinced with the benefit of getting listed, you will need to consider other factors for an IPO. Now here we'll list down the major considerations during the IPO process. In brief, we'll need to consider the market environment, the stock exchange you are going to flow on, the right timing to list, and most importantly, to get the right people on board. The right people including the auditor, the advisor, and also the underwriter. You will also need to build a very strong management team, a good corporate governance structure, as well as the internal control mandate that fit the listing requirements. Now, Hong Kong still remains as one of the most popular listing destinations in the Asian region. We can see that in the first half of 2017, the main board recorded around 34 IPO totaling 50.5 billion Hong Kong dollar. And however, the main board IPO was dominated by some smaller and medium-sized deals. The average deal size was actually the lowest since 2013. But one of the highlights is the GEM board. As we can see, the GEM board has 35 listings in the first half of 2007. It is actually the highest first half-year figures since its establishment. Now, Alex has actually shared a bit on the GoGoVan cases, and it is actually a very good example of showing synergy through an M&A transactions. GoGoVan, again, is the first Hong Kong unicorn. It is born in Hong Kong, and in August 2017, GoGoVan has announced its merger with Wuba Shuyuan for a 1 billion to merge with Wuba Shuyuan. And the combined company has an estimated value of around $1 billion US. It is indeed a very good example of synergy because GoGoVan is doing quite well in Hong Kong and in the Southeast Asian regions, but they have no establishment in China. And for Wuba Shuyuan, they have presence in over 100 cities in China, but they don't have any overseas establishment. So with this merger, they can actually complementing each other. Also, as they combine and become a larger company, they can get a higher market value, and they can potentially raise up at a lower financing cost, and also they could more easily tapping the equity market in the future. And in fact, GoGoVan has the plans to get listed in Hong Kong in the coming few years. Now, at the end, the decision of what exit option to persuade, be it IPO or M&A, is actually a complex one. It will be affected by many factors, such as the general market conditions, your business need, or the investor. But ideally, a business should keep all the exit options open. And a good exit plan can actually help you to maximize your enterprise value. And maybe in one day, you will become the next GoGoVan. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there any questions? So thank you very much, Angela.
Thank you.
If you got more questions, you are very welcome to ask Angela directly at the floor. Thank you very much for your wonderful speech.